P.S. I Love You XOXO is brought to you by Kinda Funny, the animated series. Head over to patreon.com/kindafunny to support this ridiculous dream that we shouldn't do. What's up, everybody? Welcome to P.S. I Love You XOXO, episode 17. I am one of your hosts, Greg Miller, alongside, he only does everything, Colin Moriarty.
Konnichiwa, it's good to be here with you today.
Konnichiwa. You did spend your entire end of 2015 in Japan.
I did.
Yeah, you went over there.
Uh-huh.
Just a spur of the moment thing.
I haven't been in Japan in
Are we
16
really
months.
going in April?
Yeah, we're really going.
We haven't
in
made
April.
it. We haven't talked about it lately, and we haven't moved on it. And
I
remember
haven't fucking
that
talked to you about anything lately.
I'm just letting you know this specific thing.
We're like two ships in the night right now.
Fine. Except now the ships have run head on into each other, and they're getting it on.
Well, two ships run into each other. It's not usually a good thing.
But I'm thinking like Thomas the Tank Engine, those kind of ships. Like our ships have faces on them.
Tank Engine was a train?
I know, but you understand what I'm saying. I don't know. Is there a ship that is like known to be a cartoony ship that does things?
Let's just be real right now.
The
Thomas
tugboat?
Tank Engine, I think that was maybe after my time or something,
Sure.
or, right? Yeah, that's how you say it. Thomas Tank Engine sucks. When I tune in, I think, well, what the fuck is this creepy shit?
Yeah.
It's like...
well, isn't he just a ripoff of like the... I think, wasn't that a train? I think I can. He was trying to go up a hill. I think I can.
Is that a train? I think I can.
So?
I think you're
Let's see
right.
what the internet says.
That sounds right. Like, I think yeah.
And it
that
feels
sounds-
like Thomas the Tank Engine, some guy was like reading that to his kid. He's like, you know what? If I put a humanoid face on this train and sell it to things.
It's those dank Yarnum nugs that have removed all remembrance of anything in my childhood at
Too much
all.
Bloodborne. Here we go. I think I can is what I'm putting in. Yeah, the little engine that
The
could.
little engine that could, of course.
Right.
How could I forget that?
And
That's
that book-
fucking. There's thousands of people screaming.
There's a little kid listening to this show because his dad's making him, and he was like, I know that book. That was published in 1930. Let's see. Thomas the
Tank Engine. Give me a date on that shit.
The Tank Engine. There was Thomas the Train.
It's the same thing.
Well, I went to the...
Hey, that's just people being too lazy to write Tank Engine.
1930 versus
1712.
Thomas's the origins. Thomas first appeared in 1946.
Really?
In the second book in the series, Thomas the Tank Engine.
Because I remember just the cartoon.
Yeah.
So there was books.
Yeah.
So definitely not before my time.
Oh.
I'm not. I didn't fight in World War II, believe it or not.
This is very interesting. I'm reading. There's too much to read.
You're annoying me. Give me the
I'm not
fucking
gonna,
iPad.
I think read it. Was he just Thomas? Was he in 1913? Was he Thomas the Steam Engine? Meaning that the little engine that could ripped off Thomas the Tank Engine, and we were totally wrong on who ripped off whom.
Okay, wait a minute. I don't care about any of that. The only thing I care about is the TV series. Thomas's on-screen appearances in the TV series were developed by Britt Allcroft. The first series of 26 stories premiered in October 1984. That's a good month because that was the month I was born.
So not before your time. Very much your contemporary.
Contemporaneous.
His TV persona. The books, though. I'm asking about the books.
Ringo Starr was the storyteller in the television show.
Oh, mate.
Replaced by George Carlin.
Wow, that was you definitely exchanged an apple for an orange there.
Alec Baldwin portrayed Mr. Conductor in Thomas and the Magic Railroad.
You
and narrated the
are a disgusting little pig, Thomas.
What is this show about?
It's about a tank engine that could sell a lot of books.
Thomas had his genesis like Winnie the Pooh in a toy for a small child, both coincidentally named Christopher.
Oh,
take this away from me before I throw it through the window.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, this is P.S. I Love You XOXO. We are kindafunny.com's PlayStation podcast. We are the #1 PlayStation podcast on the internet, and we come to you each and every Tuesday at 9 a.m. Pacific time as an MP3 on your iTunes or podcast service of choice, and a video at youtube.com/kindafunnygames. Now here's the problem, Colin. For years
There's
now,
always a problem. Tell me what the problem is.
I guess, and not years. For 16 weeks now, we've been running unopposed in this 9 a.m. slot. Today, however, Tuesday, January 5th, is a huge day for us. It's our 1-year anniversary of leaving IGN to be our own independent thing, starting this Kinda Funny as you know it. So we redesigned kindafunny.com. Go check it out. We're doing a stream all day long on twitch.tv/kindafunnygames. We redesigned all the Patreons. We put up new perks. But most importantly, We made this thing called Kind of Funny, the animated series.
Which we're going to squash in this 9 a.m. time.
Exactly.
Time
Why
frame.
Tim thought it would be a good idea to put that piece of garbage up against the #1 PlayStation podcast, I'll never know.
Let's kill it.
Okay. Well, I think
Don't go to the website. Don't watch the Twitch stream. And don't watch the animated series. It's all about PS I Love You XOXO
exactly
at
that's
9
true.
a.m. on Tuesdays.
They can't coexist. Rising tides sink all ships.
When I say things like this, I know that.
Someone believes you.
Well, also, I'm sure someone believes me. Also, I know that your heart drops just a little.
Mine?
Yeah, just a little.
Oh, I don't care.
Just
No.
a little.
No.
Just a little.
Because this time you included me in your escape pod to stardom and fame and fortune. When you're going to go off on your own, that's when there's a problem.
Kind of like how you included me in your escape pod to fame and fortune when you won Trending Gamer.
Yeah.
And then thanked me third.
Yeah. You know, they always
Christine got
say-
this. Christine, who wasn't there at the beginning, of course, didn't know who the fuck you are until a few years ago.
Right.
She gets a whole thing about how she's
And
beautiful.
they
and
shot
blah,
her
blah,
in the
blah.
crowd and stuff. It's cool. It's cool.
And I was all on the in front of the TV being like, what is he going to say
Yeah.
about, his fucking very best friend, Colin Moriarty.
Right.
His partner in crime.
Exactly.
Been there before all of this nonsense will be there long after you go to prison or something.
Exactly.
I'll be the only one visiting you.
Yeah.
And, you're not going to white collar prison, Greg.
You don't think so? I'm going to federal pound me in the
Yeah.
ass prison?
Yeah, but, the escape pods are very similar. I'm in the same escape pod as Nicole Tan, who doesn't give a fuck
What up,
about
Nicole
you,
Tan?
Greg.
She emailed me very nice things.
Doesn't give a fuck about you.
Wow.
Okay.
Nicole, you did
So
me
just
dirty.
so just remember all of that.
Okay.
Because you're
What
part
are
of
we
this.
even talking about anymore? Everyone, go to kindoffunny.com. Check out the new Kind of Funny, the animated series. We're all voices on it. It's a very, very cool show. We're very proud of it. In this entire month of January, patreon.com/kindoffunny is being revamped to get all the money we can for the animated series so we can take this pilot and make it into a real show. And we're super stoked about it.
We gotta pay my brother.
We got to. He's a real
He's a real man.
He's a real animator, and he actually, when you work for Sesame Workshop, you expect a paycheck at
Yeah.
some point. You don't want to
Sure
just like do everything for fun.
Sure enough. I was telling you the story about how my mom told
this is
me.
great.
My mom called me yesterday to talk to me, and she's like, "Oh, my mom was at our beach house in New Jersey." And she's like, "Oh, my brother lives in Philadelphia." And she's like, "Your brother was gonna come to visit us, and he couldn't." And I was like, "Oh, why not?" She's like, "Because he was working on your series." Like, sorry, Mom. So Mom didn't get to see fucking anyone
How'd
because
she
of the
take it?
animated series. I don't think she cares.
No?
No, of course she cares. She drove to Philadelphia to give the kids the presents.
Did
that
she
they
ring
were
the
gonna-
Liberty Bell while she was there?
No,
Did she eat a Philly cheesesteak?
maybe she did. I don't really know for sure, but I know that she's, she didn't get to see her son because of the animated series. She doesn't get to see her other son, me,
Because of this as well.
because I just don't go home.
Sure, but this is kind of the problem. This is what keeps you here.
Right.
Kind of Funny closes up tomorrow. You're back on the plane.
Oh, I don't know where I'd go.
Yeah, you would.
Maybe on
You-
a spaceship.
you go back.
Whoa.
Whoa.
Maybe on a SpaceX rocket.
Whoa.
To Mars.
Oh, wow, yeah. You watched that? You finished The Martian ever?
I did.
Okay. Did you enjoy yourself?
Not really.
Really?
No.
You didn't like the movie?
The book's fucking phenomenal.
Sure.
And the movie's way too fast.
Oh.
Like,
okay.
I really don't think you can appreciate, like, you gotta read the book.
Okay.
It doesn't translate. Like, think about Cormac McCarthy's The Road.
I'm
It's
thinking
a
about it.
fantastic book.
Right.
It's a short book, but a fantastic book. The movie's just as good, I think. Maybe not quite as good, but almost as good. The movie, Martian, they did a nice job, all things considered, but because it takes place over such a long period of time, you don't get to appreciate the minutia of the fucking book and like how hard, like the things he goes. I didn't quite like it.
Okay.
As much as I thought I would, but I thought it was fine. Just like The Hateful Eight.
I
Fine.
haven't seen that one yet. Don't ruin it for me.
Fine.
I'm trying to figure out how to
Good?
see it.
No.
Oh, okay.
Bad?
Okay.
It's been a good show.
Let's begin this PlayStation podcast with what is and forever will be Roper's Report. Time for some singular possessive news.
There are 10 items on the list.
Your first baker's dozen of 2016.
Now, so we talked about this before the show began, that I didn't know which direction to go in. Stop looking at the camera and smiling because I don't like it. I don't like when you do that and you're freaking me the fuck out now. All right?
Yeah.
It was okay for like a few seconds.
Right.
And I don't like
I apologize.
So just rein it in a little bit, okay?
I'm having a good. We got so much energy because it's our first day working.
I know. Just wait until next week.
I know. Next week I will be back to drive the nails into my face.
In your face?
Yeah.
I thought you were going to say your coffin.
Oh no.
I'll gladly do that one.
I'm sure you will. Yeah.
Made of Portillo's bones, believe it or not.
The bones of the coffin. I'm sorry. The nails of the coffin.
The nails are made.
Thank you. I was going to say you can't take Portillo's bones and make that into a coffin.
If I cremate you, I could.
Sure. Yeah, probably. You know, the ashes are just bone fragments, it turns out.
That's not true.
That's what the internet said.
It's got to be more matter than that.
I'm just
than
saying.
just
I'm
the
just saying
bones.
what the internet.
I guess
got
that makes
taken
sense though, because you would incinerate the skin, the
flesh,
muscle,
yeah,
all that, the bones, or all that stuff. That's a possibility. But I'm gonna, you know what? I'll defer to the internet. But I'm gonna tell you this: I'm doing something with that fucking dog when he dies. All right?
Okay.
Because I think that you aren't taking me seriously enough. Something's happening to that dog. The things that have come up so far, we could make a little suit out of him for the next wiener dog.
A pelt outfit.
We can stuff him.
Time. Yeah.
We can make a bong out of him. We discussed that at one time.
Yeah.
This new nail idea sounds pretty good to me. See, I kind of want to wear Portillo's head as like a ceremonial Indian headdress.
But I get what you're saying, and I
respect it. It would be pretty cool.
I respect it.
It would be pretty cool.
But I just think you're like the dog's head is like this. Like you're gonna have that much to work with. It's
I'm
gonna
not
be
saying,
this,
yeah, but
and then it's gonna have what
and then the rest of his body kind of
hangs over,
and his little legs are just like
it's like that bear hat I have,
right?
Where the little bear head's up here, and then you tie it at the base,
right? But I tie it with his legs.
Sure. That's one thing we could do with him.
That's one thing. So I'm just throwing, times he's waning.
Keeps on slipping.
All right. So what I was saying before I went down that rabbit hole was we didn't know how far back we were going to go for the news.
Yeah.
We haven't actually recorded since, I don't know, like a long time.
Yeah, 3 weeks now.
So I only went back further than a week for really good stuff like this. Number 1, Uncharted 4: Thief's End has officially been delayed. In a post on PlayStation blog, Neil Druckmann wrote the following, quote, "Let's start with the good news. Uncharted 4: Thief's End is wrapping up production and is shaping up to be the proper send-off for Nathan Drake that we've promised you. The bad news is that we need a bit more time to finish the game so that it meets our standards and vision. Let's cut to the chase. Uncharted 4: Thief's End has a new release date in North America of April 26, 2016. This is our largest Uncharted game to date, and the team has been working incredibly hard to meet the challenges of closing out the game's development in a timely manner. However, as we approach our final deadlines and started wrapping up the game's levels, we realized that several key sequences needed extra resources to bring them to the finish line. After carefully considering all of our options, we decided to extend our schedule, making sure that we got a few more polish patches before submitting our gold master, the final disc for manufacturing. Thanks, Neil. I don't fucking know what that means.
Whoa, other people reading it, dumb bro.
Pushing the date is not an easy choice, and we wouldn't do it if we didn't feel in our hearts it's the best course of action for the game. To you, our loyal fans, we hope you'll accept our sincere apology. We know many of you have been waiting patiently for Nathan Drake's final chapter, and now we humbly ask you to wait a bit longer. On April 26, 2016, the most ambitious installment in the Uncharted series will be in your hands. End quote. Signed, Neil Druckmann and Bruce, who doesn't talk to anyone on the PlayStation blog ever.
No. He won't even look Ryan Clements in the eye, I heard.
No, he won't. So let's get the obvious things out of the way. Yeah. I called it.
Yeah,
I called it a fucking mile away. I said it was going to be a month delay.
This is, I want to say this is perhaps not big. I think it's bigger than Fallout. Not in the fact that Fallout was like, you started calling Fallout so early. You called this really early as well, and then committed. You always double down on it. Even when at PSX, Neil was like, that's the date. We're gonna hit that date. And he
called me out.
He followed me up and said, well, he said he's trying to prove you wrong. He never, you know what I mean? Like he was working with you, but then he did the right thing where, he called you out and then posts on the PlayStation blog, tweets that. He tweets out, Uncharted 4 has a new date. Here's our full statement on why we needed extra time. Tweets that out right now, weeks later, 554 retweets, 829 favorites. Then immediately follows up with, and yes, period, hashtag Colin was right. That has 1,080 retweets, 3,002 hearts. So yeah, he did call you out, but then he said publicly. You know what I mean?
No, I appreciate it.
Because all the comments, everywhere you looked on the internet, the comments were hashtag Colin was right.
I appreciate it. No, first of all, I love Neil. He's our friend. I'm glad. That was a really cool, I don't want to say mea culpa because he doesn't owe me anything. It was just that was a nice gesture, and I appreciated that. But
when you play along with everybody.
Oh yeah,
the internet's awesome.
Of course. And Neil's a great guy. I'm glad they're getting extra time. I said that they would need about a month or so to just finish things up because I think that, like you said, they're starting to compile the game. The game's made in disparate parts, and they're starting to put it together. And when you do that, you see that other things, some sequences, like you said, need a little extra help. Sounds like the game's playable, which is really exciting, and I'm sure it is. I'm sure it's playable probably from beginning to end.
Yeah.
It's just not where they want it to be. But to me, it was like I was sure the game was going to get delayed. I was hoping I was right that it was going to get delayed for a month. I really could have seen the game getting delayed for longer than that. So I'm so happy that I was right in that sense, and I'm not even being facetious or like trying to beat that drum. I could have seen that game getting pushed to the fall.
Sure.
So like, just because, like I said, we kind of went through the kind of calculus on this. They were really wrapping up mocap late last year, and then people were like, "Well, maybe it's for the DLC," but then they said, "We don't even know what the fuck the DLC is."
Yeah.
So so there's a lot of interesting stuff in there. Take your time. April's not that far away.
Day before my birthday. The perfect gift.
Well, Sony's probably going to give you the perfect gift weeks before it comes out.
But the
And they better give me their. Am I not going to get the perfect gift?
You can't. I'm the perfect gift. God gave you the perfect gift. Trending gamer of the year, Greg
Trending
Miller.
gamer, and of course, thank Christine. So
Yeah.
it's no big deal.
Kevin.
I agreed to let go of that, and I agreed. I told you I'm going to let go of the avocado. Thing, so you ate the avocados, and it's no.
Eat the avocado. I thought 2016 was a new leaf.
It's a new year. It's not a new leaf, Greg. Anyway, I'm glad that they got that they are going to get their extra time. I'm sure the game's going to be phenomenal. I can't wait. I'm positive the game's going to be phenomenal. I have no doubt. Where it will fit in the echelons of Uncharted greatness, of course, going at the very top, Fight for Fortune. And then way down, and then it goes Uncharted 3, Uncharted 2, Golden Abyss, Uncharted Drake's Fortune.
Right, but before Golden Abyss, you put in the Uncharted comic book series.
Right, of course.
Right. There you go. This is what Nathan
So if they
Drake was
can
meant
really
to do.
nail the
Fight for
greatness
Fortune.
of Fight for Fortune. Fight for Fortune is so obscure that 95% of the people listening to the podcast have no idea what the fuck that game is.
Well, that's just the Vita. The Vita is so obscure.
Remember when they announced that out of nowhere? They announced it on like a Friday and it came out on Tuesday.
You're
I think
like,
I got
what?
my code that weekend. It's a fun game, but it's whatever. Any other thoughts on that?
No, you were right, and then I'm glad it wasn't long, and take all the time you need. There's a couple questions that people had submitted that I didn't make the cut that were like, what do you guys think about this? And it was like, well, it's the obvious stuff we're going to say, right? That a bad game is bad forever, and a delayed game is disappointing when you hear that it's delayed and then you forget about it and you're fine.
Right. Number 2, PlayStation Plus's free games for January 2016 have been revealed. PlayStation 4 owners can look forward to Grim Fandango Remastered and Hardware Rivals. PlayStation 3 owners will get Dragon Age Origins and Medal of Honor Warfighter. And Vita users will also get Grim Fandango Remastered, in addition to a game I'm quite excited to play, actually, and I forgot came out, but I am authentically excited. Legends of War Patton. It's a World War II game.
I don't remember that at all.
Not pretty bad month, actually. But
what are you gonna do? They can't all be great.
yeah, they can't all be great. And this is it's like you have your holiday games. I'm not trying to make excuses for them. This is a bad month by PlayStation Plus standards, especially on PS3. Dragon Age Origins, which I fucking hate that game. Medal of Honor Warfighter. I played all the way through. I beat it.
If you're hung up on that though, just do me a favor. Get your shovel, go out in the backyard, and bury your PS3. Stop playing your PS3. Come on.
I haven't played my PS3 in a long time.
I refuse to.
I don't know.
Would love to play this Yakuza game. I refuse to do it.
When was the last one I even played on it?
I'm not going back on that XMB. I've moved on. I'm not going to sit there waiting my trophies to
Tales
sink.
of Exilia 2 is probably the last one I played. So it's been over a year.
Okay.
Before that was South Park. I think those might have been really the only 2 games on PS3 I played the entire year that was 2 years ago. You're right though. It's time to move on.
I'm moving on.
Maybe buy a Vita. So you can play Grim Fandango Remastered and Legends of War.
I was thinking about it last night in bed, getting ready to drift off, reading the Reddit, in the Vita subreddit there. I was thinking about getting the trigger accessory.
No.
For remote play, for the few times I want to remote play, because that's what kills it for me is when it's like use the back touch.
Don't get it.
No?
I don't want that in the house. Don't get it.
But theoretically, not even theoretically, literally you don't want anything in the house.
That's true.
So you're already mad. What's this going to do to you?
That's true too.
Yeah.
Number 3. There's been a lot of talk about Sony's lack of first-party production in 2015 and in general since PlayStation 4 launched in 2013. We talk about that a lot. Perhaps to combat this, Sony released a video showcasing 20 outright console or timed exclusives set to come to PlayStation 4 in 2016, and GameSpot was kind enough to compile a list.
Good job, GameSpot.
Here are the games Sony thought worth mentioning. And now at GameSpot, they put them in 2 different lists. I put them in 3 because their lists weren't quite accurate.
But they had asterisks.
They did.
They knew something was awry. They're just, how do we boil this down? The news keeps on a-flowing.
There are 7 games from first-party studios on the list. Horizon Zero Dawn, Uncharted 4, A Thief's End, The Last Guardian, Gran Turismo Sport, Gravity Rush 2, Ratchet & Clank, and Dreams. Now, I'm counting Ratchet & Clank even though it really is a second-party game, but Ratchet & Clank is a embedded first-party game.
Yeah.
Well, not owned, because you'll see what I'm saying in a minute when I say this. I'm just throwing Ratchet & Clank in there because I think it would cause confusion to put it into the next list because of what it is. Okay?
Yeah, sure.
So Insomniac is not a first-party studio. There are 5 games that could be considered second-party exclusives. 6 if you count Ratchet & Clank, but I'm putting 5. And they'll be published by Sony. The Tomorrow Children, Drawn to Death, What Remains of Edith Finch, Shadow of the Beast, and Alien Nation. It's a strong list of games. And there are 8 that are console exclusive or otherwise timed.
What's Shadow of the Beast? Why doesn't that ring any
Shadow of the
bells?
Beast was announced at Gamescom. I feel like the last time I was there.
Oh, is it the one with the giant beast looking, the werewolf guy?
It's
he's all gross and he's like,
yeah, it's a remake of a late 80s
Okay,
game from, let me see here, Reflections Interactive. It was on anything that you had. Genesis, SNES.
Missed it. Sorry.
And anyway, it had sequels, and then a remake is in development.
All right.
Anyway, the 8 games that are timed or otherwise somehow finicky with exclusivity. Street Fighter V, which is a PlayStation 4 console exclusive for sure.
But it's coming to PC as well.
Exactly. Firewatch, which I assume will come to Xbox One. Boundless, which I assume will also come to Xbox One. Nier Automata is a PS4 console exclusive, as far as I understand. Hellblade, coming first to PS4, I think, even though it seems like it's based like
Heavenly Sword.
Not based on, but it looks like Heavenly Sword.
Yeah. Well, even the name.
Paragon is the MMO, right?
Yep. The Epic Games MMO.
The Witness.
No, not MMO.
MOBA. The Witness will come to PC.
I'm Jonathan Blow, and I want you to know that these are my games.
And No Man's Sky.
Hell yeah.
All right, so let's go through this list again.
Lay it on me
fun.
in slow-mo.
First of all, do we think all these games will come out in
Fuck
in
no. That's not how
2016?
video games work.
So I'll tell you right now, Dreams isn't going to come out next year.
But now you...
Why would they release it?
Because they're going to launch it in beta kind of thing, I think. I think we're going to do a Minecraft.
So you don't think it's going to be a retail game?
No, it will be eventually like everything else. Like Life is Strange is a retail game all of a sudden. But I mean, like...
That's different.
I'm just laying it on you, bro. Letting you know.
Horizon will come out. Uncharted is going to come out. The Last Guardian is going to come out.
Horizon, I still think has a shot at moving.
Oh.
I don't like saying that. And I'm not making a bold prediction. I'm just saying that I think it has a shot.
Let me go through this again, and I'm going to tell you the games out of these 20 that I think are going to come out this year. Okay? So we can get them right off the list. Horizon, Uncharted. Well, let's see what we agree on then.
Okay.
All right? I'm going to make another list.
We love lists here. It's kind of funny. Support us on patreon.com.
I'm going to go to Google Docs. Yes, I want to go to Google Docs because I just fucking... Don't they annoy you when it's like, do you want to go to Google Docs? And then they open another window. I'm like, I just literally typed in google.com/docs. No, I'm trying to go to fucking Pornhub. Google.
What I do is I have Drive on my favorites, and then I hit Drive, and then I hit the little plus. And then
I don't like favorites.
That's weird, but okay.
All right. Then I'm going to do this. I'm going to snap this to one side of the screen. I'm going to snap this to the other. All right. Now, we can all agree that Uncharted 4 is coming out.
Yes.
We can all agree that The Last Guardian is coming out.
You fucking better. I agree.
Right?
I agree. No, I agree that it's coming out. They got to fucking pull the goddamn
Gran
trigger.
Turismo Sport.
No.
Gravity Rush 2 is going to come out.
Yeah.
Ratchet and Clank is going to come out.
Yeah.
Dreams.
I mean, let's clarify what we mean. You're saying that the retail version of Dreams won't be out this next year.
No, there's no reason to release it. If they release it in the fall, it's going to die.
Yeah.
Dreams, I already think is going to die. And if they release it in the fall...
I keep leaning on Media Molecule on the internet. Bring us over there. Convince Colin.
Gran Turismo Sport. Dreams. Okay, so we have 4 of one and 3 of the other right now. The second party games. The Tomorrow Children, I think is going to come out.
Again, I feel like that has to come out, right? It's been going forever.
Drawn to Death is going to come out.
Yeah. David Jaffe never...
What Remains of Edith Finch will come out.
Misses. Yeah. Giant Sparrow. About time.
Shadow of the Beast, I can't commit to that because that game's been dead for a long time. Or like... Okay. And then Alienation will come out. So we have those.
Yeah.
Then Street Fighter V will come out.
Yes.
Firewatch is going to come out.
Fuck yes, it is. February, right? I'll double check.
Yeah, I think it is February. Boundless, I don't know. I'm going to put Boundless
Not enough information.
and Nier Automata over there. Hellblade, I'm going to put there too. Paragon.
See, I don't think Hellblade comes out
I
this
think The
year.
Witness and No Man's Sky. All right, so
February 9th for Firewatch. Oh, that's close. Oh, doctor.
all right, so here's the list. Here's how I have the list worked out right now. But this is an amalgamation of both of our opinions because I don't agree with you on Horizon.
I'm just saying it has the possibility to wiggle.
Well, these all do.
Uncharted's not wiggling. Possibility to wiggle.
Uncharted 4, The Last Guardian, Gravity Rush 2, Ratchet, Tomorrow Children, Drawn to Death, Edith Finch, Alienation, Street Fighter V, Firewatch, The Witness, No Man's Sky, I think are locks.
Sure.
Horizon, Gran Turismo Sport, Dreams, Shadow of the Beast, Boundless, Nier, Automata, Hellblade, and Paragon.
Paragon, I mean, I don't think there's any way. We saw nothing.
I'm just saying that this identifies 2016 games.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I think it does.
I thought that was the whole point of it. Yeah.
I thought so too.
I'll check in for you.
Anyway, that's a fun little exercise.
We had fun exercises here. I don't work out, as you know. I don't do much anything, but my shoulder feels like I threw the perfect game last
You threw
night.
90
You know
pitches?
what I mean?
Number 4. Not only is Square Enix doubling down on a 2016 release date for Final Fantasy 15, it's also indicating when the release date will be announced. In a blog post on Square Enix's official blog penned by the game's director Hajime Tabata, he writes, quote, "Happy New Year. we will finally release Final Fantasy 15 this year in 2016. In development, previous phases required wisdom and strength. However, moving forward, the final phase will focus on effort and willpower.
Willpowers?
Not willpowers, willpower.
Okay.
I vow to you all that every member in the team will do their best to the very last possible moment, taking responsibility and pride in their craft. We will do everything we can to finish Final Fantasy 15, to create an experience we are incredibly proud of, and one that you will enjoy and treasure. The whole Final Fantasy 15 team appreciates all of the support from each and every one of you this past year. I cannot tell you how much it means to all of us. We'd like to celebrate a wonderful new year, and as we approach the release of Final Fantasy 15, I'd like to enjoy that moment with all of you. End quote. Meanwhile, website Nova Crystallis reports that Famitsu released some short interviews with various game developers, one of which was conducted with Tabata. He notes that, amongst other things, the release date announcement will occur in March.
Oh, okay.
Do you believe it? 2016, they're doubling down on 2016, but I still feel like he gives himself some wiggle room. He makes a declarative statement. He says, Happy New Year, we will finally release Final Fantasy 15 this year in 2016. But then he says to you, I vow to you all that every member in the team will do their best to the very last possible moment, taking responsibility and pride in their craft. We will do everything we can. We'll do everything we can do to finish Final Fantasy 15. To create an experience we are incredibly proud of and one that you will enjoy and treasure.
So you're asking me,
Yeah.
do I think it'll happen in March?
Do you think the game will come out this year?
Yes. Fall. You?
Probably.
Some of it's just the Japanese prose. You know what I mean?
Sure.
It's wordy, yes, and it's
Such as
wiggle.
previous phases requiring wisdom and strength and the new phase requiring effort and willpower.
Yes.
Kind of like that. Well, let me bring it down a notch. Number 5. Speaking of Final Fantasy, are you planning on playing Final Fantasy VII Remake anytime soon? Well, don't. Producer Yoshinori Katase recently spoke to Famitsu, as reported by Silicon Era, noting that, quote, I believe that this year will still be a year of preparations for Final Fantasy VII Remake. I'd like to create a new kind of value for the hardware that is the PlayStation 4 for our next announcement, end quote.
He's trying, man.
Oh my God. These guys are fucking killing me, man. They're fucking killing me.
I hear you.
A year of preparations for Final Fantasy VII Remake.
It's a big game. They can't prep it wrong.
Oh my God. Just wipe your mind that game even exists for years. Years.
Maybe they're just preparing to release episode 1.
Number 6. Amazon revealed its 3 best-selling games over the holiday season. What are they? Do you know?
I don't know.
What do you think?
Is this
retail, no console exclusives.
Oh, retail, no console exclusives. Best-selling games for the year or
for the holiday season?
Star Wars Battlefront.
That's number 1. Well, that's number 3, but that's on the list.
Cool. This is like Family Feud. I like it. Yeah. That's number 3, you said?
Yep.
Fallout?
Number 2.
Okay. Shit. Biggest game on Amazon.
It's so obvious. Just use your mind.
I'm working on it. I'm thinking. Well, I want to say Call of Duty. Okay, good. Just make sure. Okay.
The games were Call of Duty, Black Ops 3, Fallout 4, and Star Wars Battlefront. Those are the top 3 best-selling games on Amazon for the holiday season. No numbers in terms of software sold per console were given. You did it. The Greg Miller family.
Steve Harvey comes out.
All right. Now, there's some interesting stuff here. Number 7. It looks like the next Assassin's Creed game will take place in ancient Egypt. It won't come out until 2017, signaling the series' first break in annualization in years, I think since 2009. Word comes by way of Kotaku's Jason Schreier, who reports that multiple sources have indicated to him that the game will take place in ancient Egypt, will skip 2016, come out in 2017, and is currently codenamed internally as Empire. Sources indicate, according to Jason, that biannualization could be the new trend moving forward. One other interesting tidbit is that a source indicated that the game may also take place in ancient Rome. Jason says that might have changed. The source said, quote, there are talks about making a trilogy of the same character, so they might explore Greece or Rome next. Greece/Rome next, end quote.
Good.
Yeah.
Pumping the brakes on Assassin's Creed, I don't think it's a bad idea.
No, I don't think
like
so
we've
either.
talked about it before, right? Like I think Syndicate is a fun game. Syndicate is a good game. Syndicate had no buzz, and I never heard anyone talk about it before, during, or after. You know what I mean? It's one of those where the people who reviewed it, like when Alexa put up her review, I was like, is it good? She's like, yeah, you should play it. I'm like, all right. And I eventually played it. I was like, oh, this was good. Too bad no one played it, and I assume no one bought it. And is that hangover from Unity's bugs and this, that, or the other? Maybe. It's also probably people burning out on Assassin's Creed that is there every year.
Number 8. Jason tucked this at the end of the story, something that might have warranted its own story. I was surprised they didn't do this. He writes, quote, A possible Ubisoft substitution for this fall's big Assassin's Creed could be Watch Dogs 2, which we hear will be out later this year and set in San Francisco.
Oh, okay.
Set in San Francisco. End quote. That's all he said. I talked about how Watch Dogs 2 I think will be shown at a Ubisoft's E3 press conference. I talked about this a while ago, and I think will be released this year. I agree with that. I believe that. I haven't heard anything about that.
Do you think it'll be like Fallout? At E3 they announce it, they show it, and then say it's coming out this
probably
fall.
November.
Yeah.
Or October. That game's been dark for a long time. I think that's smart. I think Watch Dogs, the original Watch Dogs I played for a few hours, I was like, ugh.
Yep, me too.
I was really like, I don't want to fucking play this. There was really nothing about that game that made me want to play it.
The tired story I talk about all the time with it is that Watch Dogs 1 to me is what is what Assassin's Creed 1 was to me, which is why I'm so excited for Watch Dogs 2 of like, all right, let's cut out some of the bullshit and how this didn't work and how it felt like, and get to like the core of what this game's great, what makes it great. Because Assassin's Creed 2 I loved.
Sure. I don't, but I never played the original Assassin's Creed. Watch Dogs clearly was half-baked in a lot of ways. I think that they know that. So that's why I think the game just disappeared. I mean, the game came out in 2013, so the sequel will come out in 2016. That's a nice space of time for a studio like that to fix it, and I'm sure the game was in pre-production, if not in full production, before Watch Dogs even came out. So,
sure.
Yeah, that makes sense. Watch Dogs 2, I think, will be a fall game. Set in San Francisco sounds pretty cool.
Do you think it's interesting that they're following me? First game's in Chicago. Second game's in San Francisco.
Third game.
DLC that puts you in Columbia, Missouri.
Oh. Fourth game.
Hell.
Number 9, Sony has filed a new trademark. This one for a game known as Days Gone. Days Gone.
Is it
Daysgone. Days Gone.
See, is it spelled with a Z?
No other information is available at this time, including who is developing the game, what the nature of the game is, or when or even if it will come out. So all we know is that Sony owns the IP.
Okay.
Indicating that's first party or second party, of course. Wondering if this is Ben's game.
You jumped to Ben, yeah. They got to be close.
Mm-hmm.
It's getting close. Let's do something. Eric.
Yeah, Eric, do something. I know you like to take fucking cute Instagram pictures of snowflakes and shit and spend time with your family.
Lame.
Like this is the 20th century.
I want to play Days Gone.
Play Days Gone, you say? Not until Eric Jensen gets back to fucking work.
He was doing that last night. Oh, we'll go back to work tomorrow. I'm like, you don't do anything. You have
Eric,
nothing to show for your work.
Eric, you haven't done anything in 5 years.
There's just, you go into his office, there's one worn spot on the floor and one like divot in the wall where he bounces the tennis ball back to himself every day.
I'm starting to get pissed now. Number 10, wrap up. Happy 10th birthday to our friends at Sony Owned Media Molecule, the studio behind Little Big Planet, Tearaway and Dreams, which was founded January 4th, 2006. Congratulations to EA and DICE, who, according to industry analysts, as reported by Fortune, sold 13 million copies of Star Wars Battlefront so far. Congratulations to Disney Infinity, which is now officially the #1 Toys to Life brand, ahead of Skylanders and Lego Dimensions. The ESRB has rated 5 more PS2 classics for PS4, according to Games Radar. They are Primal, Ape Escape 3, Oakage, Shadow King, Siren, and Wild Arms 3.
Siren.
Sony's Gio Corsi confirmed on Twitter that Sony itself will help port Versus Evil's The Banner Saga to Vita, since it's taking for fucking ever. And finally, Supergiant Games revealed that its game Transistor has officially passed the 1 million sold mark.
Hey!
Congratulations to them. And that is all for the news.
Colin.
Yes.
I want to play Transistor on my PlayStation Vita. And I probably never will. But I will continue to wait. But while I wait, if I wanted to know what games came to mom and grop shops, where would I go?
It's unclear because there's no drop this week.
God damn it, Ryan. Oh.
He's really fucking up.
Just because it's a holiday.
He's really fucking up.
No, he's not. He's fucking. He's being a nice young boy. He's got a baby.
Are you saying
on the
that because
way?
you're afraid someone's going to tweet at him and he's going to get mad at us again?
Yeah. Everyone be nice to Ryan.
I can't control what other people do, Ryan.
I can't.
You know we're kidding.
I can't. Everyone be nice. I think if memory serves, though, I told people to tweet him. I'm not telling you to tweet Ryan Clements now. You're only allowed to tweet Ryan Clements that you love him and that he's a great guy. That's all you're allowed to tweet at him. I'm like the villain in Jessica Jones. What do you think comes out this week? Okay, so here's something for me.
Volume comes out on Vita.
But like they moved that date though, right? It was supposed to be, I could have sworn they announced it it was going to be the 12th and then all of a sudden it became the 5th.
It could be, I don't know.
Okay. I want to look
I heard
into
Axiom Verge is a few weeks away too. I'll believe that when I see it.
Who'd you hear that from?
Oh, just people.
Tell me your sources.
Just people.
Volume. Vita. Because now that's all I was going to say. All right, there you go. August 18th is what Google says. That doesn't help me at all. That doesn't help me at all. Hold on. That's totally doesn't help me. Damn it! And there's all these old stories. This is the problem with when people hold no. No, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's always been the 5th. Then something good's coming out the next week.
How the fuck do I know? Because Ryan hasn't written anything. I don't know anything if Ryan doesn't write.
That's a good point.
I don't have a roving calendar of release dates in my head
Hold
until
on.
I read them on the PlayStation blog.
Hold on, I got some stuff here. I got some ways around this. Stick with me, Colin. Take the wheel.
Yeah, I'm good.
The plane. All right, hold on.
Reading
Here we
Twitter.
go. So what's coming out? Here we go. I got it. Here's what's coming out to the PlayStation 4.
Where'd you get it?
Reddit.com/r/PS4.
Oh, okay, cool.
Amplitude.
All right, okay.
Hardware Rivals.
Mm-hmm.
Rebel Galaxy. Now we'll go over to Vita.
Rebel Galaxy. What the fuck is that?
There's no link. I can't
Yeah,
tell
it
you.
doesn't matter. Can't be that important.
Ryan didn't even bother writing about it, so it can't be that important. You're right. Do this. Hold on. I can see this. So now coming to PlayStation Vita, just volume. PlayStation Plus we've already covered earlier, but those will all be up. Grim Fandango, Hardware Rivals, Nihimbalrosh, Legend of War Patents Campaign, Dragon Age Origins, Medal of Honor Warfighter. And then this tab just called PlayStation. That doesn't help me much. PS3. They didn't even bother putting up PS3 release dates because nobody cares anymore. Because again, everyone who's anyone buried their PS3 in the backyard. It's over. Put a nail in the coffin. Bury it. Tweet me, Game Over Greggy, shots of you burying your PS3. There's little images. That's all I want.
Okay.
Colin.
Yeah.
Time for topic of the show. Tots. Oh, you're wearing down already. Getting tuckered out. Powering down.
I had so much energy for just a little while.
It was a good start to the show.
It was a good show.
When it was just
it's going to be a
gibberish.
bad end, though. It's gonna be
You
a
think
bad
so?
end.
I think we're going to be okay.
Okay.
Topic of the show comes from kindafunny.com/PSQ. It's where you can go ask your questions. If we don't have a topic that we want to talk about, we'll grab one of yours from Reader Mail and put it in here. So this one is from Jason_Redemption. Jason Redemption says, hey guys, Happy New Year.
You as well.
With this year bringing us more open world games than ever, and both Colin and Greg talking about games where they can enjoy their collect or clear-a-thon, I was wondering, what are your top favorite open world games of all time? I read the question, immediately jumps to mind, Infamous, the original. I've written about my affinity for this game, why I love this game, but just that getting to be, and it sounds so, such a novelty now because there's these Batman games and a million other things going on, but someone, thank goodness Sucker Punch being talented, someone talented taking the superhero genre and making an original character, making a game that they can put years of their time into and making it open world was awesome. You know what I mean? I'll never forget how much fun it was to go around Empire City like that. You know what I mean? And run around and grind on rails and get more powerful and take on stupid side missions and go, look, where's the camera, the photo looking at me, and go get it and do all these different things. And then like the fact that there was the light and dark path and the choices and the different thing there, like that was great. And I don't get me wrong, like as we go further, I mean, we always talk about it, right? That the fact that I think Second Son's the best gameplay, you know what I mean? Just because of the way it's all evolved and everything. Yeah. But like, the impact of the original Infamous, I like the story better there and stuff like that. Even though I loved Infamous 2 as well, loved Cold, loved New Marais and all these different things. It wasn't exactly the same experience because Empire City,
it wasn't new.
It had exactly. It had broadsided me in a way because I was sitting there waiting for the other shoe to drop. Someone announces, "Hey Greg, you cover PlayStation. PlayStation's making a superhero game and it's open world and it looks awesome." You're like, all right, great. I can't wait for it to not live up to expectations and not be cool. And then you got it and it was great. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That was a special game.
Infamous definitely snuck up. I'll never forget when I got it at IGN when I was writing the guide before it came out. It was fun. Infamous 2, I think, is a superior game, and I would definitely say that that resonates with me more. Mm-hmm. As a game, I think that game's fucking awesome. GTA Vice City, definitely one of my favorite open world games.
See, I was going to go, when I get to Rockstar, I was going to mention Red Dead.
Red Dead's a great one.
Red Dead was another one I remember because Red Dead was another fun one where we went out and did preview opportunities with it. It was me, Eric, and Hill from IGN. And we went there and we all three did something different. It was something where I think Hillary decided to be good, I decided to be bad, and then Brudvig decided just to wander and see what he ran into. We all had such different experiences, going back to the office afterwards and talking about what you saw and how you did this and how this all came together was awesome. And you got it. And I remember for me, lost in it, loved it, got to Mexico, dropped out, and was gone for, it was the rare occasion where I dropped out of a game for maybe a month or two, you know what I mean? And then got the urge to go back and just dominated it, you know what I mean? Like was all enraptured with it, which usually it's like you leave something, you try to come back to it. I can't do it and don't even bother.
Yeah, I will say I want to give a shout out to Far Cry 3, which I think was I don't know, man. Far Cry is fucking awesome. Like I really love Far Cry 3, and I never beat Far Cry 4. I played that game extensively. I get too wrapped up in shit to play those kinds of games, but I want to go back to that game at some point. I will say a more modern or recent open world game that I think gets short shrift, and I'll say it again, is Mad Max. I think Mad Max is a really great open world game. It's desolate and empty, but that's the way it's kind of supposed to be. I think that world is really quite unique. Yeah. The gameplay in the world is unique. Some people are a little mad at me for saying, shitting on Batman Arkham Knight's gameplay, but supporting Mad Max's gameplay. Remember that I gave the caveat that I don't think the hand-to-hand combat's anything to write home about. It's worse in Mad Max than it is in Batman. The car combat is fucking rad in the game. Okay. So yeah, I would give a shout out to that as well, but I'd really have to think. I'm sure I'm missing something, but
that's the whole thing is I'm not looking for a definitive list here. I'm just saying percolating on it. What's popping up in your head?
But I do think that the perfect fusion of genres, or one of the perfect fusion of genres, is really open world and first person shooter. And I don't really feel like we see that enough. We see a lot of third person in open worlds and a lot of role playing mechanics, but I think that Far Cry is, not that that's the only one. Crysis, of course, is really the inspiration for Far Cry, and there are others, and I like the original Crysis a lot as well, but although when you go back and play it, it doesn't quite. It was like this marvel of technology in 2007.
Oh yeah,
I'll never forget.
How good it looked. Yeah.
But I went and platinumed it on PlayStation 3, I guess a couple years ago, and that was a hard platinum.
Oh yeah.
And it was fun, and it's definitely where you can see where they get the inspiration for Far Cry. But I just feel like it's like I want to see more rock solid shooters that are in the open world genre as well.
So like the Call of Duty mechanics in an open world game.
I think Far Cry feels great. It's not like a shitty shooter.
What's your prediction on Primal? How's Primal going to come out?
I don't know. It's probably not going to be quite what we want, because in the Far Cry 4, the bow and arrow mechanics, which is what they're using here, is something I never really fucked around with, except for online a little bit when I was playing it before it came out.
Yeah.
So it's unclear like how it's all going to shake out. I just want a Far Cry game. I'm really interested to see if it's any good, as we wait for Far Cry 5, which I'm sure is probably a 2017 game. Maybe even 2018.
Sure.
So that's all my answers for you today.
Do you want to give a shout out to Fallout 3?
Fallout 3, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. That's a reasonable one. New Vegas as well. I just don't want to go too down a far rabbit hole. I mean, Fallout 3 is a great example.
Okay. But fine, then that's where the rabbit hole can stop.
Yeah, the rabbit hole can't be infinite.
Isn't that kind of the point of them? I thought it was.
How does the rabbit ever get out?
I mean, he dug the hole coming out, because rabbits are born at the core of the earth, and then they crawl to the surface, and then you fall into it.
Evolution's a wily beast.
You're a scientist. The one thing I've always wondered, right? And I'm not saying we could, but let's say we did drill through the earth one side to the other.
Right.
And we just had this hole there.
Right.
I jump in it. I jump in this hole, right?
Right.
Is it at the center of the earth where I'm just in stasis, where I don't move, where I'm just like shifting back and forth?
Why would you think that? If you drilled the hole straight through, because you're presuming that you would drill through the core.
Yeah.
So no, you would fall through the earth. The bigger problem would be the wobble.
I mean, what does that mean? I shoot out the other side and into space?
I mean, there's going to be lots of problems when this happens.
Right.
The heat's going to kill you.
Well, that's the whole thing is
the wobble of the earth is probably going to make you collide with the sides as you're like reaching terminal velocity.
Okay.
Also, the core is, liquid, so I don't know if
but as I was tunneling through, as we were tunneling through, we had robotic machines doing this, right? They were insulating the sides of it.
Okay.
So it's like, I'm not gonna, when they get there, the lava's on the other side, everything's fine.
So why wouldn't you be able, I mean, in that case, why wouldn't you be able to theoretically fall right through the earth?
No, I'm not. That's the question, is what happens? Do I shoot out the other side of the earth? Do I get to the center and I'm just in this constant thing?
Why would you be in this constant thing? I don't understand what you're saying.
Because I'm
gravity?
I'm falling. And then the gravity's going to pull me back, or no? Is that not? I'm just going to go, what am I doing here?
I think you're going to go right through.
And I just,
Earth's gravity doesn't begin at the core.
How far do I shoot out when I get to the other side? Space?
Well, you'd be going very fast.
Yeah.
Now,
how long does it take me to get through the tube I just made?
A while.
Yeah.
Now, because think about free falling, like the guys that used to free fall, Gus Grissom, I think, and those guys free fall from like the edge of space down. It takes them like, before their parachute even engages, it takes like minutes. Can you imagine that? And they're only like less than 100 miles above
like
Earth.
The Red Bull guy, yeah. I know.
That's insane.
No, thank you.
I would do it after training for many years.
Okay.
what would happen to you? No. So I don't think you would fall right through. Gravity is an interesting question in this. But my bigger question is you won't have enough for escape velocity. Because remember, to get a ship off the Earth requires like an incredible amount of power.
Oh, I don't mean like leave gravitational pull and I'm out into orbit or anything.
Maybe you'd swing around. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I mean, if you're going fast enough, the Earth is going to grab you at some point. But remember, even little meteorites, not meteorites, but little meteors that are the size of my fist or whatever, just get right by Earth and doesn't do anything to them. It nudges and stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know.
We should do it. We should try it.
It would be very expensive. It sounds like something Cobra Commander might do, so we should probably get in touch with him.
Well, then we are in good company if we're doing that. You know what I mean?
I think so. I don't really know what you mean.
Oh, Colin. Here's one for you.
Okay.
We're going to start by getting in touch with our paternal instincts. Toddy Jossel says, "Hi, gents. I've decided when my newborn son is old enough to play games, I'm going to start him with a classical education before graduating to more modern games.
Good.
Hopefully, his time spent with Sonic, Mario, et al. Will be something he appreciates later in life."
Wait, Sonic?
Yeah. What games, systems, characters are absolute essentials in your eyes? P.S. Je t'aime.
I'll tell you right now that Sonic is not an essential thing to show your child unless your child wants to kill himself.
Whoa. I don't know if it's that drastic.
I mean,
but sure.
It's pretty drastic.
Yeah. So here's the question, Colin Moriarty.
Yeah.
Are you where are you right now on the spectrum? Are you gonna have kids one day or no?
I'd like to, but I don't know.
Let's say you do have kids.
Right.
You said you like to, so you have a kid.
Yeah, sure.
You have Colin Jr. there.
Right.
Or you actually more Greg. You have Greg.
Greg.
Yeah.
Right.
Your first
Greg
one's named
Moriarty.
Greg.
Right.
Greg Moriarty. GM right there.
Mm-hmm.
Put the GJ in
Just
there.
like my dad.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's covered. You keep the long
Onion
lineage of your dad, Onion Man, me, Onion Hater, and your son going. How are you starting him on video games? What do you do?
I don't know. I like the idea of starting simple, not because I don't think kids are smart, right? Like you often talk to friends where and they're like, their kids walk up to the TV screen and expect they can touch it.
Oh yeah, well, yeah, exactly. They all know the eye stuff now.
So like they catch on quick, and if you teach them with a first person shooter or something, they're gonna understand it. But like it's like learning math, right? Like you don't start with pre-calc or something like that, or even algebra. You start with arithmetic and just numbers, understanding numbers and counting and all. So in that case, I feel like you start from the beginning. I don't necessarily need to start with like Pong or even Atari 2600, but there are classics that I do feel like Mario 3, the 3 Mario games really on NES are important. I don't, and I'm not saying this because I'm like a Sega hater, even though I think Sega, Sega's contributions are a little bit overrated. I think that there are things you can skip. I think you can probably skip Sega generally, and stick with Nintendo. I think move to PlayStation. I think maybe even Xbox. But yeah, I do think that like the side scrollers and those old important games are relevant. But again, modernity has changed things to such a degree that I don't know if kids even care about those games or want to care about them anymore. But to me, it's like you can't understand where games are until you understand where they've been. Sure,
I understand that from the historic. We always talk about it when you're trying to get involved in the games industry. Like we're lucky enough that we grew up with them, right? So we have some kind of knowledge about all this stuff. Whereas now, if you're listening to us and you want to do what we do, you do have to go back and play a Mario and understand this. I don't know if you're just trying to be a game fan if you need to. You know what I mean? Like I don't think if I got kicked in the head by a mule tomorrow and I was like, you know what I want? Fucking kids. I don't think I'd be like, when they get to the age of video games, that I would be like, all right, let's go backwards. You know what I mean? I think I would start them with, okay, what is contemporary right now and is good for kids? All right, play Lego Dimensions. Do you like these Skylander things or whatever? But obviously, let's play new Super Mario Brothers or whatever on Wii. There's, so many things. Well, what? They just haven't changed anything. Mario Maker. You know what I mean? I don't know if I'd be drawn to go back and give them anything.
It's tough because it's the way you decide to treat it.
Yeah.
Like I'm not into film enough to want to go back and watch the silent pictures,
Citizen Kane and stuff like that.
Like, well, that's
not silent, but I'm sorry, just go back to classic.
Yeah, I mean that's different. I mean that is a classic, but I mean like I'm not interested. No.
Okay. Will you go back to watch it?
No, but that's what I'm saying.
Exactly. I'm just making sure my point stands.
I think I might have actually in high school. I don't really.
You've just seen the GIF enough that you know.
Yeah, I don't know. It's like one of those things that I think I might have seen in high school. I really don't remember.
Yeah.
But the point is that I don't care enough about film to go back and be like, well, Tarantino gets his inspiration from blah,
sure.
blah, blah. But I do care enough about games and music to want to know where things come from. And especially with music, I like genetics. I think that it's fascinating. I don't think that, there would be no Rage or 311 without, the Chili Peppers, but there might not be those guys without like Urban Dance Squad either, or like these other obscure bands. And I like kind of getting into where things are or where they begin. There would be no, new wave the way we knew without, something like Blondie or the Cars. So like, and not to say that the Cars are new wave, but they had a new wave aesthetic in some of their songs that were inspirational to those bands. And I like getting into the nitty gritty of that kind of shit a lot with music. And I feel the same way about games.
Yeah.
You can't, shit. Like I don't know that you can truly appreciate Wolfenstein: The New Order without knowing that Wolfenstein 3D was the first-person shooter ever. That's fucking relevant to me, you know?
Yeah.
And watching that series really evolve and still be relevant in a different way today, I think is cool. And they have those little dream sequences in the game that bring you back to the first game as if he's having a nightmare, which I think is brilliant. And that shit's probably straight lost on people.
Oh,
so
yeah.
I think that is relevant and important to me. But I don't know that it's necessary or pertinent. I just think it's a matter of like how much do you care about games. And I'm starting to care about games much more in a like where have they been and where are they going kind of thing than, now that we move into VR and even AR and stuff like that. I think that these are going to be more quaint ideas at some point that I think we will want to know more about. And it would be nice to instill this kind of stuff in our kids. It's like with politics, right? Like the Republican Party, for instance, is whatever it is, and then people look at it whatever it is, but like it's important to know that the Republican Party founded in 1856 and Abraham Lincoln was the first elected president that they put up, that won, and the Republicans, went through the wilderness a few times, stuff like that. Like, is that really relevant to vote Republican today? Probably not.
Yeah.
Is it interesting? I think
sure.
So.
So I mean, I guess the question for me would become then, so you're going to show them the classics and do this, like, where are you cutting it off and what's your criteria for moving on? And is it game by game? Is it, all right, you guys, you've beaten Mario and done all the secret stuff and da-da-da, so now you get to move on to, is it Mario 2, Mario 3, or is it on to Super Mario World, or, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know how many leaps you want to make with it.
Right. It's complicated.
Yeah, it's very
I
complicated.
think it's going to, well, that's the least of your worries, but I think that it comes down to your own personal taste. If I have a kid, they're going to know games. My brother's a great example. My brother Dagan has a son, Graydon, a little kid. I think he's like 5. And he's obsessed with Mega Man. He's fucking obsessed with it. He had no idea that I loved Mega Man until like we started talking about it and I started sending him toys and stuff like that. He loves Mega Man. And that's only because, and I'm talking about like the NES ones, that's because my brother's a retro game collector and plays Famicom and Super Famicom and NES and all this stuff with his kid. And that to me makes Graydon's opinions going forward on video games way more relevant in my,
because he knows the history.
He has no idea if Mega Man 2 was made in 1989 or not. He has no idea that game is way older than him. I don't think he cares. But when he becomes cognizant of those things and then he does start playing, he plays Wii U and stuff. I think they play Splatoon and stuff together. So he knows that there's like these echelons of games and these different disparate parts of games. And Splatoon doesn't look or play anything like these older games. And he doesn't know maybe why, but he will.
Yeah.
And so my brother's sitting there playing Ninja Gaiden on NES, or he's playing Link to the Past on Super Nintendo or something, or Final Fantasy 2/4, that this will be ingrained in him, just like it was ingrained in me, except for the fact that those games were contemporary to me.
Yeah, exactly.
When I was 5 years old playing with Dagan, which I think is another reason why he does it, I think it reminds him a little bit of those times maybe, Mega Man 2 came out when I was 5. So, like, of course, that's going to be ingrained in me.
Yeah.
But it doesn't make his experience any different. So I'm actually he's like actually like the litmus test for me.
He's the test, yeah.
Because I'm really interested to see when he's 8, 9, 10, like my oldest nephew, Declan, I got him a PlayStation 4 for Christmas because I'm a good uncle. And he loves games. And he's not super into them yet, but he doesn't have that. His dad's not really into him. His mom isn't really into him. So I'm interested to see how Graydon grows up, because he is into them. And his dad is very into them and always will be so, and always has been. And he's the reason I was in the games. And then look at me now. And I'm not saying that as a joke or whatever. And I'm like, I love games because it was fucking drilled in me as a kid. And so I wonder how he'll be with these games as well. And he'll have a lot of insight that a lot of his own peers won't. And I think that's pretty powerful. Yeah.
What happened? I mean, I guess you're talking about how like the games were drilled in, right? Is that similar to how Dagan's name was drilled into him? So all his kids got weird ass names too? Kids at home right now, like he's making this up. He's making these names up as he goes.
These are great names, I think, personally. Dagan's a great name. It's a good Gaelic name. Graydon, also a good Gaelic name.
What was the other one?
Declan.
Yeah. Okay.
Also a good Gaelic name.
So, does he have any other
kids?
Say
your piece.
Does he have any other kids?
He does.
What are their names?
A daughter.
What's her name?
Lilia.
Okay, I'll give you that.
My other nephews are Finley and Dashel.
But those are from different. Are those all from?
Declan, Finley, and Dashel are brothers.
Okay.
Graydon and Ayla are brother and sister. And then my other sister, Allie, has a kid named Ayla Colin.
See, at least I can respect that in terms of like, everybody, here you go. You all got, we're just going to, you got to live with this and enjoy it and figure it out. You know what I mean? Noonan gave his kids all a bunch of normal names and then one kid the Gaelic name, which is kind of like how his parents did it with his family too.
I think I might have the most normal name out of my
And you're the most abnormal person in the family.
Oh, by far.
Yeah.
By far.
Ladies and gentlemen, we of course are in Reader Mail. We didn't introduce it, but you've watched the show once or twice for Maelstrom, blah, blah, blah. Go to kindafunny.com/PSQ to get your question read in the air, just like Deo Mena did. Damien is his name, but then he spelled it, he's got a username, and that's where he gets all confusing. Damien writes in to PSQ, just like you can. In 1976, I got my first console, Pong, I think. Now, I'm a 61-year-old grandpa who still plays games every day and watches all the kind of funny content you guys put out. Last year, I finished Bloodborne, Dragon Age Inquisition, The Witcher 3, Fallout 4, 1,500 hours approximately in Destiny, and 50% through The Phantom Pain. Anyway, I don't have a direct question, more of a suggestion. When comparing a new game in a review to an old game, you should boot up the old game and see how shitty most of them were. The odd exceptions are most anything JRPG, etc. You get my drift? Huh? I like how he's even talking like he's a grandpa. Huh? You get my drift? Games are far better now than they were in the past. Quote, these are the good old days of gaming. Join or die. P.S. Well-deserved award, Greg. Sorry if my syntax is a bit odd to American readers. I'm not from there. No PvP type friend request, please. Do I have a point? Question mark. Hail Portillo, I walked the Freedom Trail, Damien. I love Damien.
Losing it a little bit.
Damien is going, and I edited some stuff out of Damien's question. Damien's a goddamn madman, a 61-year-old goddamn.
I think he's dead wrong.
Yeah? That's what I thought. I thought it'd be an interesting topic.
I don't. Do you agree?
That games are better than ever. These are the good old days.
How?
I think. Well,
graphically?
Exactly. That's the whole problem we got to come down to. Is
of course they are. I would dispute that too, though. A lot.
But the good old because you're gonna go to the fact that 8-bit or pixel art
16-bit
looks great all the time.
32-bit.
Yeah.
Look at Symphony of the Night.
Yeah. Do I think these are the gaming good old days? In some ways, yes. In some ways, no. You know what I mean? I think we do have a nostalgic lens when we put it on. We remember sitting there playing these things. I don't think anyone can sit here and argue about how amazing Mario Brothers is. You know what I mean? Super Mario Brothers. But in terms of we're in that weird spot, right? Is that I think when we were growing up, games were very narrow in what they are, and now we're back to the old boring Greg analogy story he always tells. The thing now the walls have fallen down and the silly putty's stretched in all these different directions, and I love the fact that right now I don't watch much TV, right? Unless I'm eating. When I can't, I'm doing this with my hands, like Garfield. Then I can't play a game. I watch TV, and otherwise I'm playing a game, right?
Whacking balls into your face.
No, that's how Garfield eat lasagna.
Okay. I know.
Come on, man.
Who's cooking all this lasagna for Garfield?
I know, right? Did he know how to do it? I think once or twice he did, but then sometimes he made Normal do it.
Garfield sucks.
Garfield's really bad. But the point is, right now, I love the fact that there's a game for any mood I'm in. You know what I mean? I always talk about that. There's a different. Yeah, but not really. When I was playing on the Master System, I don't think there was enough things where it's like. But here's the problem: is that I'm talking about when I'm a little kid and my attention span's shorter, and I'm looking for something specific out of a game. I don't understand what a game could be. I don't think, and I don't get me wrong, I'm not saying there's not the rare exception. I don't think there were as many games on the spectrum that are now.
No, because the spectrum wasn't as wide, but there was a spectrum, and some of those games are dead now. So it's a matter of games being replaced. There was no first person shooters on console really. Even there were, but until really PS1.
Yeah. So
there was like Doom on SNES and shit like that, but that genre didn't exist when we were young.
Yeah.
It didn't. But So my friend Erin came to visit us, a few days ago. We went to Vegas and then she came back to San Francisco and she wanted to play Mario, like the original. Wahoo! So I broke out the Wii U after a fucking whole ordeal of finding all that shit. Like I said, like an archaeological dig, like dusting the fucking shit off it. And I plug it in and we break out the Wiimotes and she and I play it. And we played for like an hour. Mario 3 just going back and forth, whatever. And it reminded me, even though I play that game like a few times a year in some capacity.
Yeah.
That's a masterpiece.
100%.
That game is better than almost anything that came out last year, if not everything. Like straight the fuck up. So like I don't agree with him at all. That game has perfect gameplay. Perfect. It has beautiful art. It's 8-bit and it's limited, but it's beautiful. That game's beautiful. Sound, music design is excellent. We can't judge things based only on technology. That's fucking lame, you know? And it's just not the way we play games. That goes back to the film analogy I was saying. Like Citizen Kane, a lot of people, is the greatest movie ever. That movie was made in the 40s, right?
Somewhat like that. Yeah.
So it's like, or it's like the way I even feel about Twilight Zone, like the original Twilight Zone, Rod Serling's Twilight Zone, which is a fucking 50-plus-year-old show, is way better than a lot of the sci-fi written today, you know, and a lot of the horror and all that kind of stuff written today. Just because it's in black and white in 4:3 doesn't make it not that. It's quaint and it's different than what we expect today, and we don't get the fucking beautiful, you know, you look at Star Trek back in the day, Star Trek now, for instance. But a lot of people love that old Star Trek. Next Generation's a better example. In the 80s and 90s, it's like, yeah, it doesn't look like J.J. Abrams Star Trek movies, but people love that shit, you know? Sure. So I don't agree with them at all. The good old days are gaming generally, and there's games from every generation. River Raid's one of my favorite games of all time. That's a 2600 game. You know, that's a really fucking rudimentary game. That game's awesome. It's fun. It's got a fun loop. It's a fun hook.
Yeah.
The original Street Fighter 2, and you know, Super Street Fighter 2 especially, is really one of the great fighting games of all time. I don't think anyone would dispute that. That game is 23 years old, 24 years old at this point. So yeah, I just can't agree. Mega Man, Mario, Castlevania, Ninja Gaiden. This game's shit on a lot of games today. I'm sorry. Like I it's not to say there aren't great games coming out today. We've got great shooters, great. There's a lot of great role-playing games, whatever, great open world games. They can all coexist, but to say that like these games are definitively better than those games is bullshit. And when you put in, say, Final Fantasy 4/2 or Final Fantasy 3/6 on your Super Nintendo, hey, that game actually fucking worked.
Sure.
And it didn't need a patch, it didn't need anything.
Yeah.
So that's another way of looking at gaming today as opposed to gaming back then as well. The game was broke back then. It was done. And that game was pulled, and if you have it, it's worth money. So no, I don't know if you agree or not, but I cannot agree with that. I think some of the greatest games of all time are not made in this
I think the question is way too... There's too many variables to come down to a definitive answer. So I guess I disagree on that, but I'm not agreeing that today's the best. You know what I mean? For me, it's this umbrella thing that we're talking about, right? That he's saying, what was the exact thing? These are the good old days of gaming, right? And when that's where it comes down to, well, nostalgia speak is no, it's me in front of the TV, Indian style, playing this game, you know, getting Castle of Illusion on Christmas. It's these memories, right? Where I was like that. But
Castle of Illusion is a great game, though.
I know, but then for gaming, right now, I think about the fact of if I'm playing a game and I want to watch Netflix and I hit the button, I pop out to Netflix. You know what I mean? Like, gaming is bigger than the games, if that makes sense for right now. Whereas back then, I don't know if it was. Back then, it was.
Well, it was gaming. That's what you did. You put it on your NES. That's all you could do. I mean, that's all you could do with any console until really PS2.
Right.
And even then, it was like a DVD or a game.
I mean, like, are these the good old days of gaming right now?
No way.
And we're talking about the gaming. Like, I had to go to GameStop for the first time in years and buy something from GameStop, not just pop in and look around. It was literally all I was doing is returning two Lego Dimension figures I already had that I got for Christmas to exchange in to get that blue PS4 controller. Right. Got there. I was meeting Marty and Goldfarb at noon for brunch. Got to the GameStop at 11:40. Left the GameStop at 12:10. And I was like, why the fuck does anyone buy in the store anymore? Why would you do this? Amazon, GameStop.com. The fact that if I want a game, I can read about a game on GameSpot and I'll be like, that sounds really cool. I want to try it. And I PlayStation button out and buy it.
Or whatever.
It's right there. Go on Steam, get it somewhere else. You know what I mean? Like, when we start talking about the ecosystem and the world of gaming, maybe there's an argument to be had that, yeah, these are the good old days. And
technologically they are. Technologically they are because I can plug in my Wii U and play everything. Mm-hmm. You know, and that's, well, not everything, but a lot of old NES and SNES and N64 and GameCube games. And that's fun. But to definitively say these are the good old days of gaming, like, I'm sorry, 2015 was not a very good year. Like, a lot of the reason I played over 50 games that we were talking about, you know, on the Gamescast, people were busting balls a little bit about how I didn't play many games or I didn't finish many games. And it's like, well, I'm not, you know, I'm not going to be a slave to gaming. Like, I'm going to play the games I want to play.
Says the man who platinum Leisure Suit Leather.
Well, that was when we were really fighting and quarreling. But what I was going to say was that there was a point when I played, I mean, if you look through my trophies, and you can do that, you see that I played fucking everything that came out for a few years.
Yeah.
And my life was not better off. My gaming acumen was not better off having played some of this shit. And so when I look at games that inspire or excite me in 2015, there just weren't that many of them. And I'm not going to be a slave to saying to being like, well, I have to play this, or I really just need to say I play. Like, who gives a shit?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, Who really, at the end of the day, who cares? I'm excited about a lot of games coming out in 2016. I'm going to play, I think, a lot more this year than I did last year. But the point I'm trying to make is, you have to kind of just look at what excites you. And when I look at what excites you or what interests you, like there were some really great years. I think 1998 is a really great year, for instance. 1995 was a great year. 2007 was a great year. I think 2013 was a great year. So it's and an exciting year because we got hardware that year as well. But we don't have to like just look at games with rose tinted glasses all the time, even moving forward, as much as we do look back. Because I think a lot of the argument being made is, well, we have nostalgia and we're blind when you got Castle Illusion. Well, Castle Illusion's not that very, very good game, but it is. But it fucking is. I remember getting A Link to the Past for Christmas when I got my Super Nintendo, and that game is fucking awesome.
Yeah.
And that game is still awesome. That game is always going to be awesome. That game is better than a lot of games that came out today, period. I don't care what the games look like or how they run or blah, blah, blah. Their online infrastructure and who cares? We play games. We play games to have fun.
Yeah.
Zelda doesn't have a leveling system.
I know that was what I was saying.
Ever.
I know that's what I was saying. I was saying that's why it was better now than it was then. It was being facetious.
So, I just think we get too caught up on modernity. I think we get too caught up on technology. And that's great and that's fine. That's why we were excited about PS4. What can these machines do? I don't think we've seen what they can do yet. I think when you look at Uncharted Drake's Fortune, you look at The Last of Us on PS3, these are very different games. They look very different. It's almost hard to believe that Last of Us was made by the same team that made Uncharted. Mm. But it was. So I think we're going to see new and fun things. But I also think that we have to just apply the logic that we apply to film or to books to games. It's okay for an old game to be better than a lot of new stuff. That's fine. It doesn't mean you're a hipster. It doesn't mean that you don't like modern or new games. It means that you frankly have some fucking taste. You know what I mean? And that's
no
fine.
hipster would say that.
That's a good point. But what I'm saying is, like, it's okay to say, like, this came out and I enjoyed it, or this came out and it was this, but man, this was better. When I listen to some of the bands I like, well, Rage Against the Machine, we were bringing up before. Rage Against the Machine has released several albums since their self-titled album in 1992, but that self-titled album still shits on all their other stuff. Always will. And I think most Rage fans feel that way. It doesn't mean that you're not a real Rage fan. You see that in 311 fandom, and that's my favorite band of all time, where I really don't like their new albums at all, except for the newest one is actually pretty good. But stuff they released for 10 years was pretty weak.
Yeah.
But you see things in YouTube comments where it's like, you're not a real 311 fan if you don't like blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, well, I've been a fan of this band for like 20 years, and actually, like, I actually like these albums more. And I think you can make the same case for any game. So I just think we have to just take everything and treat them equally. I don't think it's appropriate to treat older games as more important than newer games any more than I think it's more important to forget that we have a past and a history.
Yeah.
And like I said, people got mad at me about Legacy Collection, Mega Man Legacy Collection. Those games are still masterpieces of gameplay. And you can't show me a single game that came out in 2015 that plays better than them. And those games are old. Those games are really fucking old. That's okay though. That's fine. They're always going to be that way. So he was saying, like, we look back, like, play the game you compare it to, and compare it to the game you're comparing it to today, the contemporary game that you're playing today. And I'm like, well, maybe sometimes that's true, but it's not always true. A good reminder of this was Symphony of the Night when I played it for our live stream for charity. That game's fucking awesome. That game is always going to be awesome. That game's a fucking 10. That game's a masterpiece. There's nothing wrong with that game, except for like compressed audio and all that kind of stuff, like limitations of the machine. But damn, is that game still really good. And Symphony of the Night is definitively better than anything that came out last year. So that's my 2 cents.
Better than Mad Max, the game of the generation.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Because this was a different generation.
Yeah. I don't know. The problem is it's just so subjective. You know what I mean? Like, you talk, and that's the weird thing of us being students of the game or industry personalities or whatever, right? I can look at Mega Man and be like, oh yeah, the gameplay is really good or whatever. But like, if that was what games still were or whatever, I wouldn't be a gamer. You know what I mean? They don't work for me. They don't click. I like the freedom stuff. So it gets to this weird part of like, so then are the good old days of gaming now because I'd rather play more of what I play now and da 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 da.
But you can have what
it's such a liquid definition.
It is, but you can have what Mega Man is, the arcadey side scroller, and still be open world, which is what Symphony of the Night is. Mm-hmm. Symphony of the Night was really the first Castlevania game that wasn't heavy. And I mean that by like
the way your
Castlevania is known for being like Simon Belmont, Trevor Belmont. These guys they're like a rock.
Yeah.
But that's the way the game plays, as opposed to Ninja Gaiden, which is very smooth and quick and blah blah blah. You're running and gunning. Mega Man's somewhere in the middle, but Symphony of the Night is a reaction. Super Metroid's really even an older reaction to like giving you exactly what you're asking for, which is a non-linear side scroller. Yeah. Then that evolves into the open world games that we have today. But there would be no open world games without those.
Sure.
And that's where maybe it goes back to another question, which is why these games are important. And why maybe you should know them. Anyway, I could talk about this all day.
Blue570 wrote into kindoffunny.com/PSQ, just like you can. It says, hey, Colin and Greg. This question is mainly directed at Colin. You have mentioned lately in a few episodes that you are really not compelled to play many games right now, and that you're waiting for that one game to pull you back in. So I am wondering, which games do you think will be the ones to pull you back in and really get you to invest your time? One game that roped me back in when I was in a slump was Spec Ops: The Line, which I thought was an amazing game. And while not in a slump right now, I am most looking forward to No Man's Sky. Looking forward to this week's episode as it falls on my birthday. Happy birthday, Blue570. Thanks for all you do. Keep up the good work, Blue570.
This is an interesting and pertinent question, I think, because
Real quick too, this is like the fucking worst thing you can do, everybody. P.S. I love you, XOXO. PSS. It's pronounced Blue570. Why the fuck wouldn't you open with that? Next question. I don't even want
also
to.
it's PPS, not PSS.
I'm just reading what he said.
I know.
What's on the horizon right now that's got you stoked?
Well, Horizon's one of them, but
Hey.
I actually think the game that might be closest to release is Uncharted, obviously, but maybe even The Division, maybe Far Cry Primal. But I also think it's games that I just haven't played yet.
Oh, sure.
Have
Have you heard about the Oxenfree game?
No. Well, I have heard of it, I think.
Yeah. That's getting a lot of early buzz around it. I'm pretty stoked to play that.
I think to me, this is a pertinent question because this seems like to be shocking to people. There is nothing in life I love enough, and I'm talking about not people, but things, that I would just want to do them all the time, forever, for the rest of my life. You know, I was talking to Erin about this, I was telling her that, people were giving me a hard time because they didn't feel like I played enough games this year. I didn't have enough perspective. And that bothered me a little bit because first of all, I did play a lot of games, but second of all, I'm trying to be true to the games I want to play.
Sure. That's what we get to do now.
Yeah, I don't have to play everything anymore, and I'm not going to. And it doesn't mean I'm a student of the industry. I pay attention to the industry. I pay attention to games. I watch videos of games. I read a lot about games. I know what's going on. You don't have to play games to know those things. I hate to tell you. But yeah, you have to have some perspective on the way games play. That's why I sat down and played Metal Gear Solid 5 this past break and all these kinds of things. But what I was telling her was, it reminds me of almost having to for some people to have like some sort of adherence to like an orthodoxy of you have to play a game, you have to play games, you have to play this many games, you have to play everything that comes out, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, nah, I'm good. Yeah. I've talked about it in the past. Like people are talking about, maybe some of the newer people that haven't listened to us for a long time. I've talked many times about how I've been in this place before. I was in this place at IGN. I was in this place in college. I didn't play games except for some big releases for an entire year in college. I played like 3 games that year and when I was a sophomore. And into that summer and into the next fall until I really got back into it because I was just like, it's not speaking to me right now. Sometimes other things speak to me right now. Documentaries are speaking to me right now. Like being social is speaking to me and going out with friends and just hanging out and doing the things I want to do. I think that healthy balance actually gives you more perspective than being up games' asses all the time, which is not really like my interest. So what game will bring me back in? I don't know if it's going to be a specific game as much as I do need that game to claw me and like, get me. But I love games. I grew up with them. I've been playing them for 27 years, almost every day, except for these gaps,
the dry spells we call them.
And to me, that's normal and that's healthy. It might be a little more abnormal to always feel like you absolutely have to play, unless you really want to, unless you always feel that drive. But in my own life, I've never felt that way about anything.
Mm-hmm.
And there are things that I really love. There are things I love more than video games, definitively. And even those things I don't care enough about or not care enough about. I care about them a great deal, but care enough in the sense where I'm like, I have to read about politics every day. I have to, when I played hockey for most of my childhood and my teen years, I have to be on the ice every day. There were times where I'm like, I just don't want to play at all. Like I'm just not in it. One of the things I was talking about, and I think people can relate to this, is I don't play games as a form of escape. And I don't think I ever have.
What do you play them for then?
Games are things I play for fun.
You don't find the escape fun. Like
I
for
can't
me, they're
escape
almost one and the same.
I
You know
can't
what I
escape
mean?
my mind.
I can play a game that isn't fun and like it's interesting. It's taking me to a place that's making me sad, or you know what I mean? Like all these other emotional games that you play through, or something that happens in life is strange, right? And I don't think it's like fun in the way I think of like, oh, iDarb's fun. You know what I mean? But like that experience and that escapism or whatever, that is fun for me.
Yeah, and I'm not judging that.
Oh, I know.
I know.
No.
I think most people probably play games for that. But when I really reflect back on like the times I played games, and the reasons and the periods in which I played games, what I realize is that I play for the experience. I play because I like games. I think that they're a good medium for storytelling. They're a good medium for gameplay, for fun and enjoyment. my head is in such a way when I get upset or depressed about something or whatever, or excited about something where I'm like, I can't concentrate on this. It can go both ways. I can be so excited like a kid the day before Christmas, like I can't concentrate on a game right now. And I could be like, well, I just had a breakup. And so, I'm a little sad about that. Well, that's the same kind of feeling where it's like, I can't concentrate on this right now.
Sure.
To me, it's about going into it with the experience of wanting to play, not having an orthodoxy saying I have to play.
A gun to your head saying you have to play this.
Yeah.
Sure,
So some people are like, well, it's your job and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, no, it's not. Like my job is to entertain. My job is to talk about games. And I think I do that very well. I think I do that, quite authoritatively actually, in my opinion. And so if it's a matter of like, well, Colin only played 50 games last year, which is about what I played, as opposed to he needs to play 100. Well, that's never going to happen again. I'm never going to play 100 games a year. So we have to just kind of take things as they come, talk about the things we can talk about. When I'm silent about a game or I say I have no opinion on a game, it's because like I don't have an opinion on it.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
You're allowed to do that. That's okay.
Yeah. So what is the game that's going to call me in? I don't know. But I am feeling reinvigorated. I'm already playing more games the last week or so than I have been playing. And these are ebbs and flows. You have not seen the last of it, though, from me. And I hope that a lot of you guys out there, even if you love games, do take some time away from, take an extended period of time away from games. I think that's really important. It gives you perspective and it gives you like a way, like, I have almost a Renaissance man mentality in a way where I want to do lots of things. I want to read about a lot of things. I want to watch things. I want to, enjoy different things. And there's only so many hours in the day and I cannot dedicate them all to video games.
Yeah.
I can't even dedicate most of them to games. I just can't. So I think it's healthy. And I think that we have to all explore those things. I think it would be good for us to all disconnect for 6 months or a year if you could and just gain perspective. And then you'll be really fucking excited when you get back.
Crow wrote into kindoffunny.com/PSQ just like you can to be part of the show. It says, hey guys, Happy New Year, and I wish you a great and fresh start in 2016. Smiley emoticon.
Thank you.
My question is simple. How do I deal with such a large backlog? As someone who has become more and more invested into gaming since PS4's launch, I was very much a casual gamer last generation. I've ironically had less time to game, mainly because I'm approaching my final year before I head off to university. I find myself with an ever-increasing backlog, and whether it's playing catch-up on some of last gen's best games or PS4's games from launch, it has become a bit of a chore to go through so many games. I have felt so overwhelmed. Your insight and advice is greatly appreciated. Thank you. And keep up the fantastic work. P.S. I love you. It's my first post too. And that really excited emoticon.
That's one of my favorite. That's my favorite emoticon.
A lot. I think this doubles. I pulled this question right now because it doubles back to your point. You don't have to play everything. You don't have to feel like you did.
You shouldn't play everything.
Sure. I mean, I think
these aren't movies. You know what I mean? These are fucking games.
Colin's talking about before a second ago, right? And the fact that like, okay, he doesn't play everything, so he'll watch a video or read about it, and that does put him on the sense to have an educated opinion on it. You know what I mean? I always talk about the best thing about what we can do now with Kind of Funny is follow the games we're passionate about. So when I really want to talk about Taco Master or Lego Dimensions or something that's outside the realm,
Taco Master. What did I tell you about it?
Vita's hidden. You'll never find it. It's in his pouch charging. When I can talk about a game that necessarily maybe at IGN it'd make more sense for us to talk about whatever we want to come to Vita or a big Vita game, even if they existed anymore, or a bigger PlayStation 4 game than Lego Dimensions because it isn't connecting with the most amount of readers, right? Here we're able to talk about what we're into. So if we're into something, we talk about it, right? And there's a million other personalities that are doing that, including people at IGN and GameSpot, where you can go and be like, I know that Marty loved this game, right? And it's not really my kind of game, but I've read his review and I've listened to him on podcasts and and I heard Justin saying the same thing, McElroy over there saying the same thing, McElroy. You know what I mean? Like you cobbled together an opinion from trusted sources to be like, that game was cool or whatever. Do you at this point, I'm not saying don't, but like, do you need to play The Last of Us? Everyone says it's universally accepted as amazing. I've seen no one off the top of my head argue with your 10 for it. You know what I mean? Like you could read it and watch all the retrospectives or one retrospective on it and see the gameplay and you'd get why this game is good. I don't know if you need to jump back. I still recommend you do. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying don't play The Last of Us.
It's one of the great games of all time.
But I'm saying like, I don't think it's so like if that Shadow of Mordor, this, that, the other, like all these games people think are awesome. You don't need to feel like you have to. Look, how do you pick what to play from your backlog? Look at your backlog and say, what do I want to play from?
He used the word chore. Mm-hmm. And this is the point I'm talking about. This is the orthodoxy to hardcore gaming that needs to be like gotten rid of. We play way more games than 99.9% of people that play video games, and we're still not considered hardcore enough by a small group of people.
I'm hardcore. Everybody thinks I'm hardcore.
Well, you played. You did. I've never seen you play so many games as I saw you play this year, and I played with you for a long time.
I had a lot of fun.
That's great, and we've all been there, right? But here's the thing about it to me. When I sat down and watched you play Halo 5, what'd I do? I asked you a lot of questions about it, right? I was like, what about this? This is this. When I sat down and when you played Assassin's Creed, I watched you play for a long time, and I was like, what about this? How does it feel? Blah, blah, blah. Show me this. Da, da, da.
Yeah.
When I watched you play Rise of the Tomb Raider, I was like, I want to see the map. Like, show me the map. Like, what about this? All this kind of stuff. Probably combined between those 3 games, 90 minutes to 2 hours of questions asked about them.
Yeah.
Because I'm curious. It's not like I'm like, well, I don't want to play this, and I don't need. So you can get your experiences that way, and that's how I become familiar with some games that I don't play, or I read about them. Occasionally watch a video or a trailer or whatever. But I think he used the word sure.
He did.
And that's the word that I'm trying to be cognizant of when I play games. Witcher 3 became a chore for me. And I gave it 10 more hours, and it still was a chore for me. And I was like, I'm done. I can't play this fucking game anymore. And I played it for fucking ever. I don't know the last time I played. Probably Civ 5 was the last game I spent that much time with. And Fallout 4 became a similar thing where I'm like, I just don't want to play this anymore. You know? You have to just pay attention to your heart almost in a way where it's like, yeah, you have a backlog of games. I bet you some of those games you're going to love. I bet you some of those games you're not. You have 2 ways to go about it. You either start picking through them in some sort of order chronologically or whatever you want to do, or you just start picking out the games you that speak to you. But I think that you have to kind of come to terms with the fact that something that we came to terms with a few years ago, you're not going to play everything.
You can't. It's impossible.
There came a point where I'm like, I'm curious about Assassin's Creed every year just so I can reiterate how much I hate it, but I'm not going to play them anymore. I just don't have time. It's over. You know? Or these other random, like Battlefield or something where it comes out and I like playing the campaign. I'm like, I'm not going to play this. Like, you have to. So my backlog is really small where it's like, I know I'm going to play BioShock Infinite all the way through. Like I didn't beat it. I have to. I like Ken Levine and I want to beat that game. I really like The Evil Within when I played of it so far. I know I'm going to get back to that game. You know, I think I'm going to get back to Bloodborne. I know people are really passionate about that game and I want to play it. But for those 3 games, for instance, that I've identified, I had to knock 20 games off the backlog because it's just, there's no time. So play the games that speak to you. And if you go through a period like I did where not a lot of things aren't speaking to you, then don't play.
Yeah. For holiday break, I made a backlog list of things that I was tentative on. Like maybe, you know, if I have time, I'd like to get to it. And so when I beat a game, I chose one, right? Like my list right now, the games that I played that I'm done with, right? Fat Princess Adventures, Lego Dimensions, Doctor Who stuff, Just Cause, Batman DLC, Bastion Vita, Life is Strange, right? And so it just was, I looked at this overall list and what was I in the mood for? And then I played it until either I beat it or I was like, I've seen enough. You know what I mean? And then I'd look at the list and go, what's next? Games that are still on the games to play part are Assassin's Creed Syndicate, Adventures of Pip, Mad Max, Everybody's Gone to the Rapture, Ethan Carter with a question mark. I don't think I'll ever do. That's why it's got a question mark. And then Among the Sleep. You know what I mean? And so like right now I have a game that I can't talk about that's what I really want to play. And it's one of those I need to get done planning the stuff that's already happening right now on twitch.tv/kindoffunnygames. Go over there to support us in the animated series. So, but hopefully tonight I get to, you know, etch out the 3 hours I need to go play through that, I think, you know what I mean? Or do whatever the hell it's going to be. And then it'll be jump back into what else is, you know, on my radar that I want to do.
Yeah. I think that, that's even a grandiose, by my gaming standards right now, a grandiose backlog because I know I'm never going to. Before things start coming out.
Don't take that the wrong way. I'm not playing through every one of the games I just listed you. Assassin's Creed Syndicate, I probably won't beat ever. You know what I mean? Like, I think my window was, I was looking for it to grab me as I went into the break and I had lots of time to play, but instead I played smaller games and did different things. And that's great and that's fine and it's good. You know
I think that people have to come to terms with the fact that it's just okay if you don't play a lot of games or play games that you don't want to play. He used that word sure, man.
Yeah,
like that's such a sad thing to hear. It shouldn't be a chore to play games, and you shouldn't do it just because you feel like you have to.
Agreed. I agree with you 100%.
And I'm fighting that fight, man. I'm going to fight that fight forever because I really feel like there's going to be times when I want to play 20 games in 2 months, and there's going to be times when I want to play none in 2 months.
Yeah.
And those things, it all balances each other out, I think, at the end of the day. So it's about if you had the experience that you were looking for, and you have to know when you're not having the experience you want quicker. There's no patience for Final Fantasy 13 type games anymore. Time's precious. You know, the game might get good 20, 30, 40 hours in. Who gives a shit? You know?
Yeah, no, fuck that. You never have time for that crap.
Wolfenstein to me is the Wolfenstein: The New Order is a good example. That game's great. I love that game. But that intro sucks. That's about as long as I would give a game. Thank God it got good when you go to the fucking hospital because that's why I was like, that knocked that game score down significantly because I'm like, man, you probably lost. I'm sure their statistics showed, man, they lost a lot of people.
Yeah.
You know? So don't be too patient. You know,
follow your heart. Yeah, exactly. This is all supposed to be fun. If you're not having fun with the game, you can walk away or put it down and worry about it something to, you know, figure it out. Final question of the week at kindoffunny.com/PSQ comes from Jericho. Now, Jericho, of course, a very special person in my heart. He's the one who goes to kindoffunny.com/PSQ and organizes all the questions for me. So I just come in and pick and cherry pick out the questions. He does great work. Thank you very much for being a mod on our forums. Of course, go to kindoffunny.com/forums, register, talk to friends. Jericho says, hey guys, you two, Gio Corsi, and a lot of us Kinda Funny best friends love our Vitas. With the hype of PS VR that is building up in these very moments every time we speak about it, how do you think future handhelds will communicate with VR? This is an interesting one, because I don't think there'll be another PlayStation handheld. You always talk about they're crazy enough to it. But then he goes on. How can you bring in a handheld console to VR so that it makes sense to enjoy games on both systems? Is that even possible, or will they have to go parted ways? Would this mean an end to any new PlayStation handheld? I mean, I don't think you're ever going to see a way that, like, the Vita is not going to talk to PlayStation VR. And then even beyond that, I just don't think that's what VR is. I don't see how you...
No, it's a paradigm shift.
Yeah.
You got to get away from old ways of playing games. Now, will VR connect to your phone one day so the phone can run the game? For instance, like a very powerful phone in 10 years, for instance, could it run a VR game? Could it just transmit it to your headset or whatever? Yeah, but yeah, I agree with you. We have to get away from old ways of thinking about games when it comes to VR. It's not to say, and I'll say it again, we will be playing with a controller in front of a TV in 50 years. I have no doubt about it. But but VR is going to be just a new way to play.
Sure. I agree with that. And then I'm kind of cheating here, but piggybacking off of that question, Stevie P said over at kindoffunny.com/PSQ, hey Greg and Colin. Long time, first time. Here's my question. At E3 2016, what is the likelihood that Shuhei will take to the stage to announce that PlayStation VR is in fact PlayStation V5R? Yes, I'm talking a brand new console shipping with a streamlined PlayStation 4 and DualShock 5. Perhaps a DualShock split in two halves connected by magnets, as we saw that one time in that, the DualShock 4 back in the day or whatever, the Move hybrid for the DualShock 3.
The patent.
Yeah, exactly. Factoring in Shu's statement that it's the next 20 years of PlayStation, it's not as crazy as it initially sounds. If they price it at $499, they could potentially sell it alongside the cheaper, more traditional PlayStation 4 with a release date set for holiday 2017. Am I crazy for thinking that VR will be sold as the next PlayStation console so soon in the PlayStation 4's life? Thanks, Stevie P.
Yeah, you're crazy. There's 0% chance of that happening because you're ignoring the big thing that we've played VR many times and it runs on PS4.
Well, no, keep in mind, he's saying that they're bundling it with a slimmer PS4, the thing, and calling that's the PlayStation 5
No, it
launch system. I know. I'm with you. Don't get me wrong.
That doesn't make any sense.
I'm just here to
That's
speak
an interesting
for Stevie
question,
P.
but I appreciate it, but it doesn't. No, they're not going to do that. Why would they do that?
Yeah. It'd be interesting because I think it's...
Could they take the PSVR and put it with a new PS4 and sell them together? Sure.
And they should.
They're not going to call it PS5.
Yeah.
You will see PlayStation 5 2020 probably, the latest. But no, it's way too soon.
I agree. I'm
sure it's being developed, but it's in R&D, but no.
Time for our segment, P.S. I love this best friend XOXO. If you didn't know, you can head over to kindoffunny.com/forums where you can meet other best friends and go to the P.S. I love you XOXO board and post your name. You post your PSN name. We read it on the air. You get new friends to play games with. You get messages of loving. It's great. Today's
messages of loving.
P.S. I love this best friend XOXO is Carlos Swan. KARLOSSWAN. Carlos says, hi, best friends. This is my first post on here, but I've listened to Colin and Greg for years on IGN and now Kinda Funny. I am a 36-year-old man from England who has a 9-month-old baby. This means my PS time is an hour or so whenever I can grab it. I rarely get to play many multiplayer games, so mostly play single player and would really like some new friends on here for my PSN. I am currently playing Just Cause 3 and would like to populate the leaderboards with some other players. My PSN name is Carlos Swan, all one word, KARLOSSWAN. Keep up the great work. P.S. I love you XOXO from merry old England. Oh, wait. I thought that was good. Mm-hmm. You're playing the Just Cause 3, friend him, so then you see him on the boards and you pass him up.
It's perfect.
You beat him and you're like, the game's been out for a year and a half, and look at this. You've only played 3 things because you fucked up. Carlos Swan had a baby, and this baby needs things and attention, and you can't just leave it there to go.
It's too much.
It's too much. Colin?
Yes.
What's this week's forgotten PlayStation game?
I want to go to PlayStation 4 this week, and I don't know if it's so forgotten because it's not that old, but I want to talk about Infamous First Light. Specifically about, because we've talked about Infamous quite a bit. Infamous Second Son's gameplay, which segues into First Light, is fantastic. Great game in terms of gameplay. I think a subpar game or
Story.
Okay game in terms of story and character. I just think Delsing kind of sucks. But the reason I want people to try First Light is because of the arena combat.
Sure.
I think that there are these like arenas that kind of spread the story out and make the game longer. The story's only a few hours long, where you go into Augustine's like chamber and she challenges you with like all these robots and these characters, or whatever. It really showcases the game's combat, and I think that was like one of the most fun experiences I think I had on PS4.
you liked that a lot.
I loved it. I thought it was awesome. It's high score chasing. There's a lot of trophies. It's a platinum trophy that you can get, which I got. So I want to recommend that.
Okay.
Infamous First Light. It should be pretty cheap by this point. You would have to assume.
You'd like to think so, yeah.
You don't need Infamous Second Son to play it. It's standalone, just like the Infamous 2 DLC was. So go check it out. Let us know what you think. There's a story there to be played, but it's the arena combat that I think is quite addictive. It's like a good weekend game.
Yes, 100% correct. This week's PSN worst name of the week comes from Brown. He wrote in to kindafunny.com/forums and said, my buddy recently got a PS4, and so when I approached him about exchanging PSN IDs, he started to grin. Apparently, he made his account years ago on his friend's PS3 using his own email address, but his friend chose the name for the account. So now he goes by come honor chest _ come honor chest, like honor for honor.
Right.
Yeah, okay. Just making sure I'm stressing that enough. Come honor chest _ I like the underscore. Someone already had come honor chest.
Yeah, probably.
When I asked him why I didn't just create a new email address to use and create his PSN ID, he said he didn't want to juggle multiple emails. So there you go. Come honor chest _ Ladies and gentlemen, this has been PS I Love You XOXO episode 17. Thank you so much for joining us as always. Remember, we're a product of kindafunny.com, which just got redesigned today if you're listening to this right as it went live. So head over there and check it out, where you can check out Kinda Funny, the animated series, the pilot. It's our new initiative for 2016 as we move to some kind of scripted content. It's animated by Colin's incredibly talented brother, who we have to pay. So please go to patreon.com/kindafunny this month. Toss us a few bucks. We're trying to make it go. We have a thermometer there telling you what's happening and how much we need to make this thing a reality, to do a whole season of shows, and we're pretty excited about it. Of course, thank you for everything you do for us on patreon.com/kindafunnygames. That supports this show and all the other video game content stuff we do. And remember, PS I Love You XOXO is our PlayStation podcast, the number one PlayStation podcast. It posts every Tuesday at 9 a.m. on youtube.com/kindafunnygames, as well as SoundCloud, iTunes, other podcast services. I don't follow the podcast services. There's too many of them. And of course, every episode of PS I Love You XOXO ends in a song in a segment we call Singing a Shoehei. This is simple. Do you make music? Go to kindafunny.com/PSM. Submit your song as a link I can download the actual sound file, and then, of course, as a YouTube video. Because what I'll do on the MP3 version of the show is put up your song at the end. People hear it, and then they go, cool, maybe I'll pick it up. And on the YouTube version, I annotate to your video, and they go watch it. Today's song comes from New Cool Now Music, which sounds like if Tim Geddes was trying to make some kind of kind of fucking thing to game the system, he would call soundcloud.com/new cool now music. New Cool Now Music says, hey, Colin and Greg, a friend of mine recommended your podcast and knew I was a musician/gamer. He told me I should submit a song. So I wrote a bunch of songs in the 88 days leading up to Fallout 4. One song a day, 88 songs total, all about Fallout. I am a glutton for punishment. Here's the first song off that batch. It's called, quote, I'd Blow Up the World for You. My wife sings on it, and my neighbor played the upright bass. Listen to it. First off, I like a good concept album, if this counts. 88 days leading up to Fallout. Why not? That's cool. Song's fun. It's something you'd hear in Fallout. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is New Cool Now Music. It's been our pleasure to serve you.